Boom! Hello and welcome to the Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Byron Rodgers. This podcast is dedicated to the executive protection practitioner, the private security professional. In this podcast, we're going to talk about the mental, emotional, psychological, physiological fitness that goes into being an efficient and effective executive protection agent. Whether you're in law enforcement, whether you're a mom that's looking at how to protect her children, or a father that's focused on how to protect his family, I believe this podcast has something for all of you. We might even get into some tales from the crypts of true Hollywood stories from time to time. I'm doing this podcast because I feel the reality of this job is simple. If you really want to be good at executive protection, it's more than just a job. It really is a lifestyle. And those of you who've been in the game for any serious amount of time, you already know what I'm saying is true. So if that sounds interesting to you, enjoy the show. Out. Boom. So check it out. Today I'm kind of chilling and I'm just going to touch on a few things that have come up over the course of the podcast. And just a few things that I've been noticing while working in the industry. And it's just a casual conversation. Don't really have, it's not scripted, no notes really. And that's just simply, I was doing one of the interviews with Elijah Shaw, which if you haven't listened to that one, it's one of my favorites. They're all good, but that one, there were some good gems being dropped on certain topics. And one of the topics was, executive protection agents and how they kind of have this whole ego battle that they indulge in where he said, the way he said it was like there can only be one. It's like they're Highlander, they all think they're Highlander. And I've definitely seen that to be true in this game, and it's comical. It really is. But at the same time, the genesis of that reality isn't something, that's really going to help us out in this game. It's something that I think we all need to take pause and look inside of ourselves and really just kind of decide if that's constructive, if that's really helping everybody. Even the guy that usually tries to get in the spotlight, that turns into the eye guy, that ends up being out front, he usually falls on his sword, and the team lets him because he's a nuisance and a liability very often. That's kind of the best way to get rid of those guys, is because they go running out front, they try to spend all the time with the client, they try to get in the spotlight, and then they make a mistake, and it's irreparable. It's irreparable damage. It's catastrophic stuff. It's hard to take back. Two things you can't ever take back are bullets and words, right? Two things you can never take back are bullets and words. Never forget that, right? So, it's an interesting dynamic. But, my motto is a rising tide lifts all ships. It's one of the reasons why I love having such awesome people on here, people that are greater than me in many different ways, because, a rising tide lifts all ships. This platform is a way for us to get information and to get techniques, tactics, principles, paradigms out there that are really going to help guys manage their expectations properly. Do things that are going to help them be successful, because this game is so full of booby traps and so full of rookie mistakes in this game, because it's like Christian West said in one of our interviews, which is another really good one. So far they're all good, so if I don't mention one, don't think it's because it's not on point. So far I'm proud of all of them, but Christian West dropped something on one of them. And he was saying it's one of the most unfair industries. You could legitimately get whacked for wearing the wrong shoes on the wrong day, basically. And it's true. It's true, man. I seen a guy get fired because he smelled like a mechanic, whatever that means. You know what I mean? The guy doesn't even work on cars, but he had to go home. I've seen some things, man. I ain't gonna get into all that stuff, but it really is, because you'll have guys that are really good operators. You'll have guys that are really good agents, I should say, and that really can do the job of protection very well. But if they don't dial in the social dynamics in the aspect how the client is perceiving them, they will not be successful. You be the most legit BA dude in the game, Ultra Magic, Black Wizard Ninja, Delta Force 215 astronaut. But if you can't navigate the social dynamics within your environment, you are going to be done training and there will be no sympathy. And the only people that'll ever recognize how legit you are the other warriors around you. But you got to realize your warriors, but you're going from warlord to guardian now. You're more of a guardian now, And while we take this job very seriously, it isn't a job, I don't think, to be looked at the same way as we looked at going into combat. This job requires higher levels of finesse and a different type of mindfulness to be done well. And your sub-second draw and all those other hard skills aren't going to be what continually put food on your table. It's going to be the soft skills, the things that very often when we were out in the sand or out in the field, we didn't value because they weren't mission essential, and so kind of taking this full circle to, that mentality where you want to be the biggest, baddest, everything, on the block. I think one fantastic warrior practice for people who are in the private security industry now is really looking at it like, hey, I'm training for a fight that may or may not happen. I'm training for combat that may or may not happen, because you have to live in that reality. You have to live in that imaginary world. We exist in the imaginary world. It's our responsibility to think of everything that could go wrong before it goes wrong, plan contingencies for all of it before it goes wrong, train ourselves so that we have the intellectual and psychological software to run when something does go wrong, so we don't freeze up, so we have a plan, so we, or at least have done enough things close to that to where we're actually ahead of the curve. Like even after something goes off, we can still adjust, and we're fluid, and we're flexible, and we're making moves, and we're the guy everyone can look at when, they got to solve the equation that just came from the curveball, But so we exist in this kind of theoretic, imaginary contingency-ish world, and it's very difficult, especially for civilians who've never dealt with actual catastrophe, to really value that, because most people live in a world where they don't really value the reality that things can change in an instant. They don't really value the reality that things can just change. They can just go bad in any moment of the day. It could be anything from, a car accident to someone drops something out of a window to, you're lifting weights and the guy next to you doesn't see you and drops a weight on your foot, at any moment things can change. You get hit by an IED if you're in Iraq, but, so it's very difficult for civilians to really grasp the value of having guys in the reality and the necessity sometimes of having someone who is hypervigilant like us around, who's watching and thinking of all those things, because generally in a civilian's lifespan, they don't have instant catastrophe ascend on them and change their lives like a lot of us who have been in combat have experienced, and we know that things like that can happen, and who are constantly looking at case studies where it does happen, and are constantly looking at field studies where, what guys did, what they didn't do, what they could do, and that's one of the things I really like about the Executive Protection Lifestyle, the Instagram page, is that I'm always posting real life shoots and real life combat engagements, not so much because EP is all about that, but because I believe it's helping us write more and more software in our minds, because you're seeing these engagements and into your subconscious mind. I put on my psychology hat for a second, but to your subconscious mind, everything you experience is actually real. It's experiential learning every time you watch something. And your brain is writing lines of programming and processing that when it processes those incidents that you're actually watching. And so it is actually coming up with strategy regarding how to deal with those things and what you would do, and the angles you would have taken and the violence of action you would have or wouldn't have implemented. And the armchair quarterback thing is frowned upon, but at the same time, if you're professional and constructive about it, you can really learn some things that might hopefully never come in handy for you in your life. But so that's one thing I love about the EPL Instagram page. Shameless plug. Check us out. Follow us there. I bring a lot more to the game through that platform there, and obviously join the group, and obviously get on our Facebook page too. But the group and the IG account are really where you get a lot more. Nonetheless, with this whole training for a combat engagement that may or may never happen, that we're sitting there and we're looking for, our whole lives revolve around this. I made that podcast earlier, Warpath. Stay on your warpath, train for the fight all the time. I believe this is the only way to keep a warrior alive. I believe that the atrophy of identity is what kills so many of us. I believe that guys are in combat and they experience and push through some of the toughest things that human beings can endure. They come back here into 1st Civilian Division and they die. But I believe they die inside long before they commit suicide. 22 veterans a day, hashtag, right? What's going on with that? You got 22 veterans committing suicide a day, arguably, right? Theoretically, fine. Just the fact that the numbers in that ballpark is worth taking pause and analyzing, which is the reason I wrote that book, Finding Meaning After the Military, really to talk about that. And this is some of that content right here. Is I believe that, guys leave combat, we leave combat, and we forget, or we don't realize that we're still on the battlefield in so many ways. It's just that the battlefield has changed and the weapons of our warfare have changed, and so a lot of guys forget to approach life in the 1st Civilian Division just like they approached life while they were in the military. And a lot of guys lose sight that they're still fighting for their lives to do what they want with who they want, how they want every single day. Just because they don't have a gun doesn't mean the fight's over. Every single person out here in the world is fighting to do what they want with who they want, how they want every single day, and that's kind of how I can find compassion for a lot of people. Most people are just really doing the best they can based on their level of intelligence, their level of development, and with the tools that have worked for them in their past, they're trying to use those tools now. And a lot of people miss the mark because they're not constantly upgrading those tools by, learning and reading and taking in books and digesting high quality information. Your life is nothing but simply the output of the algorithm of your decision. You want a higher quality life, you got to make higher quality decisions. You want higher quality decisions, you need to get higher quality information in there to upgrade your paradigm, right? So, a lot of guys miss that. They get out and they think it's over. But they don't realize they're stepping into a realm where they're going to be fighting for the rest of their lives. And it's one of the most dangerous and seductive battlefields there is. Because it's not hard, It's easy to be hard when being hard's demanded of you. But when being hard is like an option, who's going to choose it? It takes a lot of wisdom. It takes a lot of something to choose discipline over comfort, to choose pain over pleasure. You know what I'm saying? But some of us are blessed and lucky enough to go ahead and step into that discipline and pain, and we find the purpose in the pain, and we unlock the potential in the processes of life. Like you go to the gym because you know what it does for you. You discipline yourself regarding your finances because you know what it does for you. You discipline yourself with regards to your relationships, your emotions, every area, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, every different area that you can apply that discipline and you win in. But guys get out and we forget. And we stop living in a way that is conducive and that fosters our warrior ethos. Our souls die. You can't find a place to fit in. You can't find a place to really You can't find a place to really like manifest yourself the way you feel on the inside. You start drinking, you stop working out, you start eating, you're stressed out, you're trying to comfort yourself, you're not sure what to do, you got a job that doesn't ring your bell, it's not something you're interested in, it's not something you're passionate about. And you know, a few years go by and you're still telling war stories and people are looking at you and you don't even know if they believe you anymore, because the optics are so off, you're out of shape, you don't look anything like the type of guy you're talking about in the story, you know, and your loved ones are sick of hearing your stories to begin with. They were sick of it within the first 6 months to a year after you got back, you know. So we die inside, and you look in the mirror one day, and who you know you are on the inside, and who you know you have been, and the deeds and the feats and the dragons you've slain, you've gone so far away. And the atrophy of identity sets in. Your identity, oh, I'm a Marine, I'm a squad leader, I'm a sergeant, I'm a corporal, you know, I'm a leader of men in combat. You look yourself in the mirror, you can't even take yourself seriously. And that's when the atrophy of identity really starts kicking in. And the atrophy of identity means that your identity, the most valuable and prized thing that you have that was forged in combat, it's dying inside you. And I believe this is really what happens. And loved ones don't see the utility in you because you don't see the utility in yourself, and you're failing to put yourself to work. You're failing to do anything worthwhile. You're a horrible person to be around because you're not happy, you know. And this, I think, is what kills us long before anything really, really happens. This is why I talk about you got to find your new fight out here, you know. And this isn't really wasn't going to be all about vets, and I wasn't going to be all about and this isn't even a vet thing. This is just a man thing. Men are so displaced now in the world, you know, because a lot of the things that we used to do that would bring us honor and validation have been removed. And it's tough, man. It's really tough. But you got to find your new fight. And what I mean by find your new fight is you got to find something you're passionate about. You got to find something you love, and you got to work on manifesting that. You got to remember, your job's not really just about, your job's not the whole aim. Your job's just the part of the game that simply helps you set a baseline of stability and protection, financial stability and protection there for you and your family. But where your real fight is to bring into the world something you're passionate about, something that makes you tick, you know, something that really brings you to life. That's your new fight. Yeah, you're not throwing bows, but you're fighting for your life. Why? Because your money represents the best of you. If you're working 9 to 5, what is 9 to 5? It is the best hours of the day. What's Monday through Friday? Those are the best days of the week. You know what I'm saying? Saturday and Sunday are only good because you ain't got to work. But real talk, if you got 7 days, 5 days that you're spending, those 5 days, bro, that's the best. That's the fattened calf of your week, man. 9 to 5 is the best of your time. What do you have that's finite? Energy and time. Your energy and time during the best times of the day and the best times of the week is what you're selling to get money. And so here we are, you know. You've got to buy back your freedom. And so your new fight is to do something that you're passionate about, that you can be proud of, that your siblings and family and sons and daughters will look up at you and be like, yo, Pops did this, Mom did this, and it's amazing. And then he bought back his freedom. And that's amazing. That's amazing, you know. And so when you find that new fight, your whole life really does come back to life. That's kind of what I've been doing even while I've been in the industry. You know, a lot of what I've been doing while I've been in the industry is different passion projects, working on things, writing that book, writing that book, Finding Meaning After the Military, you know, doing all the things that you see that I do on my website at byronrodgersmotivation.com. But, you know, what I really wanted to have, the way this all ties into EP is, you know, you've got to stay on that war path, and you can't rest on your laurels. You can't rest on who you used to be yesterday. You can't rest on, you know, what you have done. You've got to continue staying on that war path, and you've got to continue training yourself every single day. And you live in this world that is imaginary but can get very real at the drop of a hat, and people are paying you to live in that world, to train in that world, to know that world, that ethereal, theoretical world, and be prepared so that when that catastrophe world does dip its finger into our reality, you're there to stand in the gap for that, and to set a breach, and to be this jump in the breach for that. But the reality of even that game is, one more way that I bring it home for myself is, I am fighting a war every single day to do what I want with who I want, how I want to manifest what I'm here on this planet to bring forth, but also with the realization that my number one enemy in life is me. I'm dealing with the fruit of my labor on a daily basis, and so are you. When it comes to your executive protection detail you're on, one bad decision, one misstep, one moment of bad judgment can end the whole, it was all a dream. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was all a dream. Like, you'll literally, bro, like, you change the whole entire situation up with one bad decision. And so for me personally, one of the other ways that I keep my warrior ethos strong and my edge sharp is I look myself in the mirror and I fight myself, and I'm like, look, you can't get complacent. Do we have to get up early today? No, but we're gonna get up at 4 a.m. like we do, because it's what we do. And we're gonna go to the gym, and we're gonna go on ahead, we're gonna get it on, because that's what we do. I need you to be in as good a shape as you can be in while you're working, and I need to make sure that you're going to be able to render the type of work product that is in keeping with the highest of Byron Rodgers standards. Young man, get out of bed. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I talk to myself. I keep it, and even that is like gentle, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just, I give you guys like a gentle version of me just getting in my own, trash to get me out of bed. But the reality is, that I think should be our number one focus. This whole Highlander mentality where, we're like comparing ourselves to other people, and we're like, trying to outdo other people. I think it's just completely misplaced, and I think it represents an immature or weak ego. If you feel threatened by someone else because they've done amazing things, you need to know who you are. And how do you find out who you are? Confidence comes from experience, my friend. Confidence comes from experience, and so when it comes to finding out who you are, you've got to throw yourself into the belly of the beast. You got to train. You got to train hard. You got to put yourself in positions and situations that you're not used to all the time. Because listen, you can train all you want. When it goes down, it's probably not going to go down the way you've trained it. And that's kind of why some guys turn their nose up at various training camps and things like that. I'll pretty much go to most anything. Okay. Just because I believe I can learn something from absolutely everyone in the game. And just like you should do with anything I say on this podcast ever, Bruce Lee, everything. Absorb what's useful, disregard what's useless, and add what is essentially your own, because you're responsible for the moves you make. Don't just be a robot and soak up everything that's out there. But the principle is, when you wake up and you look in the mirror, you are staring at the one person who can either cause you to win or lose. You are staring at your number one threat and your number one ally at the same time. You will be successful in life to the degree that you can discipline, focus, and implement high quality decisions through that being that you're staring at. That's the whole entire game. That's the cookie burger, as they like to say. You know what I'm saying? That's gospel. That's it. And so your war on a daily basis needs to be against yourself. When you're carrying that quiet storm and you're being the calm in the storm 90% of the time around your client, but you're just ready to turn the storm up if you need to. You know what I'm saying? That judgment, those thought processes, everything, it's all you. And so, like I always say, man, like, other people to me are they're not irrelevant, but when it comes to like knowing who I am and comparing myself, I might do it for sport, but the reality is I know my game is all about being the best I can be. And so it causes me to be very relaxed with other people and what they've done and their accolades and things like that. So, I wanted to give that thought process to you guys. We do go to war every single day. You know what I'm saying? Everyone talks about a judgment day. I believe every single day is a judgment day, ladies and gentlemen. Every single day, every single minute of every single day is a judgment minute of every single day. Why? You know what I mean? Because in that minute, you're making decisions, and those decisions are like seeds that are going to manifest a reality. They're going to manifest results in your life. You're being judged. There's nothing, everything on this, to every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, y'all. Like that's all you need to know right there. And you know for a fact that you're going to be held accountable for all this trash. And so you got to sit here and you got to look yourself in the mirror on a daily basis, and you got to realize, you're your best ally and you're also your number one enemy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to be held accountable. And so every day is a judgment day, 24 hours. What are you going to get done? What have you got done? What will you get done? Will you lay your head down on your pillow at the end of the night and be proud of yourself? Or will you have to remain unconscious to the reality that you're not going after your dreams, you're not going after what it is you want, and you're probably not going to get there because you're not working as hard on it as you should, the shame is what makes people stay unconscious to the reality of who they really were supposed to be on this planet, in my opinion, but we all fight a war every single day, and the decisions we make dictate the outcome. A lot of people don't realize that, you're dying to do everything that you do, because the reality is you're dying while you're doing everything you do. You can't get another minute back ever in your life. You know what I'm saying? November 29th, 4:50 p.m., 2018. I'm never going to live again. It's gone. It's already gone. You know what I'm saying? I lost that minute. I was dying to do this here, make this podcast and talk to you about this. So for all the agents out there, that struggle with this, and it's a legit thing, like a lot of guys struggle with it, I'm just here to tell you, reconsider, man. Your number one competition is right there staring back at you in the mirror. Life's not fair. Genetics aren't fair. Nobody cares in this life. It's either victory or capture. You can have excuses or you can have results. So that's just me bringing that heat to you kind of in the beginning of this thing. A couple guys also asked me to talk a little bit about taking pictures with clients and social media stuff. I'll just tell you how I've dealt with it. And I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying that the way that I roll with this is necessarily right or wrong, but it's something that I have not seen cause me harm that I know of. So this is my approach. You don't ever want to be the guy taking selfies with your client, or your client's stuff, and posting that trash on social media. And these two topics are kind of interwoven. You don't want to be the guy that your client finds a picture of you somewhere on the internet, or another client finds a picture of you somewhere on the internet, posing with your client's stuff, or with stuff that you shouldn't be doing that with. You know what I'm saying? So it's a bad look, and it's damaging to your career. I have seen it damage guys. Taking selfies when you're working and with a client just kind of shows you your focus is not on the client, and it makes you look unprofessional. That's kind of really the cut and dry, in my opinion and in my experience. If you ever see me post any picture of anything, it's going to be totally sanitized, no tail numbers, no license plates, no trace. Anything that I do post in terms of geographic, location, that stuff gets posted after my client and I are back from whatever trip it is, so that you never really know where I am, and you never really know what trip. I'm posting pictures from another trip while I'm in a completely different place, and I do all that on purpose. So it's weeks, months afterwards, sometimes I'm posting pictures from something else, or at least I'm in a different state or country by the time I'm posting those pictures. And I think that's a security operator's responsibility. The whole kind of reposting pictures that TMZ takes, that's just kind of your call. I don't really have an opinion, and maybe I'll ask some of the guests to see what they think about it. I haven't ever done it. It is public information, so it is out there. That is one approach and one way to look at it. So it could help your overall brand, theoretically. I do know that there's a sect within the executive protection community that definitely looks down on it. So you might hurt yourself with other agents in the game who don't like that type of stuff. So that's kind of the approach to that. But your social media, you got to realize that that's public. Even if you have a locked account, it's still really kind of a public platform, public forum. So, OPSEC, operational security, should really be your primary concern if you're doing that. And now we're living in an environment and in a world and a culture where building your brand is something that's valuable, because if you can build a good, solid brand, you can always find work and you won't have to be married to one client all the time, So I personally do indulge in building my personal brand because it brings me more power. If you have a solid brand, you're more hireable and more attractive, and you can, people know who you are because you're always putting stuff out there about your thoughts, and that people they're just more comfortable with you. And I have had it work out, and it has gotten me on some of the coolest details I've ever been on, but you just really have to be able to put out high quality content that's going to make you look better and make you look good. If you are not developed enough in terms of maturity and you don't have the eye to recognize what really is going to make you look good and what really is going to make you look bad, you really shouldn't do it, because you're playing for keeps out there online. Everything you post is really hard to get back after you post it. You can get it off there if you get off before someone sees it, before too many people see it, but still, it's very very difficult, because you have to realize what you're gonna think is cool is gonna be based on your level of development, your perspective, and your perception. And you gotta remember, you really legitimately don't know how other people are gonna look at everything you do. And in this industry, it does kind of matter what people think a little bit, because you're trying to build a reputation. So before you post anything, this is the way my brain works. Before you post anything, I'm always ready to apologize. If it's if one of you guys brought to my attention something was ridiculous that I said or did, I would listen to you and I would see if your logic was sound. And if your logic was sound and it negated and overrode my reasoning for doing it, I would just reverse myself and apologize and be like, you know what? I guess I didn't think about that way. You brought up a good point. Man, no, you're right. And I would fix it and take it down or apologize or whatever. I am just like that. I have no problems with that. I never claim to know everything, right? So I don't know why people are so amazed if I make a mistake. But I'm always ready to apologize for it. But at the same time, I analyze everything for any little thing that someone else can misconstrue. And I think that's a wise discipline with anything that you're posting on social media. I already have arguments for every reason I've posted everything before I ever even put it up, So if you're getting into that game of trying to build your brand and things like that, those are definitely considerations, How could someone take this the wrong way? And what would be my refutation to that? But don't be the guy taking pictures when you're not supposed to, unless your client offers for you to take a picture, at the end of a detail. I had one detail with an athlete, and I don't really follow sports too much because my personal thought process is, look, until I'm making millions, I don't give myself the permission to sit down on a couch for a whole entire day watching a bunch of dudes chase a ball around a field who are making millions. I don't get to do that, or court or whatever, chase balls around that are already making millions. When I get on that level, then okay, maybe that'll be something I'm interested in, but really between the Marine Corps and, my job, I've pretty much missed every game that matters anyway. So I just gave that up a long time ago as well for those reasons. I did have a detail where, I've had a couple where I've worked with a client, and we moved, we did everything, and after the detail, when it was all good in the hood, the client came back out and was like, "Hey, you want a picture or anything?" And at that point, then it's total green light. Get your pictures, however you want to do it. Have someone else take it or take a selfie. Whatever you're thinking. But when it's game on, and don't mess that up. It's dishonorable. It'd be dishonorable to you, your company, and the industry as a whole. Got to be more professional than that. Another topic that has kind of been in my mind is around managing expectations. I've had to listen to some agents over the years, and even recently, talk about how their clients, just are not very considerate. Well, they're talking about like, well, and then I can't believe they did this, and I can't believe they did that, and I can't believe the client did this and the client did that, like switch the schedule up, or, blah, 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 blah. Did they even think about it? Did they even whatever? To things like that, or if you even right now feel like you have a really inconsiderate client, look, man, you got to look at this like a business relationship. 9 times out of 10, if you're being disappointed, you've got to realize that you're misappointing your own expectations. If you have a 4-year-old and you want to believe that the 4-year-old's like an adult, you're going to be disappointed. But that's because you misappointed your expectations. You're not understanding the relationship properly. This is just my opinion. Something to consider when you're doing this work is that it's work and it's a job. Like there's no real, like, I feel like it's very enticing and seductive to be liked and preferred by powerful people. It just is. It's just a fact. You want them to favor you. But something that I think has really been a redundant thing I've seen, especially with newer agents, is they complain about the fact that clients have a tendency to change things up at the last minute, go here, go there, be difficult and things like that. And I just want to bring the optics and bring the kind of the argument that, hey, look, this is a service. We are not here to be the client's like buddy. We're not bodyguarding. We're not here for them to have to care about us. You know what I'm saying? We're here to render a service. And if the pay is on par with the amount of energy and what you're doing, what you're putting out, then get paid and keep moving. But don't expect them to, talk about your family struggle, like your dad's in the, maybe you're someone in your family's sick or something, or, don't expect the client to be like checking on you and make that a priority and things like that. Don't expect the client to be like having this awesome relationship with you. Just because you were like really popular last month does not mean that you're still going to be the man this month. And that's okay. And honestly, it's like the reality of the game. We're here to work. And if you really miss the optics on the fact that this is, a professional relationship first, you're cruising to get your feelings hurt. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my clients. I really do. I love my clients. Like family. I've been really blessed to have a really good batch of clients right now that my values really align with, and things are really, really positive. And that's amazing to have, because when you have clients that your values align with, it's like, it's just everything's. But that's not always going to be the case. I've definitely had to work accounts where my values and the client's values clashed. The clients didn't even want me to be there, and so on and so forth. But you've just got to remember that first and foremost, you're involved in a professional relationship. Secondarily, you're in a relationship where it's good for there to be liking, of each other. But first and foremost, you're in a professional relationship. And if you're finding that you're getting upset because you're expecting the clients to think about you before they make their scheduling decisions, or think about you before they do anything like that, you're really setting yourself up for failure and a lot of disappointment. And you're really not being a professional, because the professional question to me always is, well, they pay me enough to deal with this type of stuff, this type of a headache. If the answer is yes, then let's go. Like, I don't even blink, you know what I'm saying? And Christian West mentioned something else that was really good. It's really good to do something like be on tour, you know, within the your first few clients, because you get to work, you get to get it in, you get to really understand what crazy is, and then you can kind of step out into the rest of the industry and, you know, just appreciate the fact that you do have some struggle credentials, and you really understand what it is to go for a few days straight and get off work at 7, 8, 9 a.m. and have to be back by 2 or 3, and you know, the joys of that good old like EP sweatshop work hard thing. Like, I fortunately came straight from the Marine Corps, so to me I was like, oh, this is awesome. I get to fly all over the world. Yeah, we don't sleep much, but I'll sleep when I die. Like, I'm making, you know, 3 times what I was making in the Marine Corps, and I get to eat and like wear cool clothes and do mostly what I like. I loved it, and it was great that I just came back from, you know, the Marine Corps in Iraq and the infantry and stuff, because you know, my first year or two we worked. I think I got less than 25 days off, and most of those days off started at, you know, 1 or 2 p.m. straight up grind time, you know. So just kind of some thoughts, you know, if you're getting really frustrated in the game, you're frustrated with your client and you think that they're inconsiderate, maybe you should consider that, hey, you know what? This is business. Make my money. That's what I'm here to do. I'm not saying be cold and be drama. Don't be drama. Don't ever be drama. But what I am saying is make sure you're managing your expectations properly so you don't get disappointed. Something else that's been getting on me that I've wanted to say something about is the whole, well, we live in a society right now that's kind of like so much divided. So divided in so many ways. And something I want to make sure that I never contribute to, and something I always don't want to make myself vulnerable to, is the reality that, you know, people can decide to like or dislike you solely on your opinions. So when I'm on a detail, I do endeavor not to speak about culture with regards to race. Like, I don't talk about anything racial. I don't talk about anything political, and I don't talk about anything religious. And I didn't think I really needed to talk about this. It's kind of like rules for, you know, getting along in unknown populations 101. But especially in EP, where you guys need to form a team. Something I've seen that I think is just so ridiculous, petty, and tragic is I've seen teams actually get riddled with like racial tension and actually fracture because of it. And in today's day and age, where like, you know, your parents weren't slaves and your parents weren't slave owners, like we really need to move forward and leave that stuff behind. It is destructive. It's destructive for everyone involved, you know. And yes, there are injustices that take place on both sides, in my opinion. But, you know, I mean, I could go into this whole time. I mean, I've been big and black my entire life, and the reality is I think everyone's got stuff they've got to overcome and cards they got to play. And for me, I've done the best I can with my cards, and that's really all that matters. And if someone was standing in my way and tried to stop me for whatever reason, I found a way around them. I found a way over them. I found a way through them, because at the end of the day, I can have my excuses or I can have my results. And that's just the way I always was trained to look at life. And that's how I was raised. I'm a hybrid. So I was, you know, I'm Bahamian and African-American. So, you know, I've got like a few different paradigms swirling around in there. But that's how my parents raised me on both sides, really, you know. And I thank God for that. But the point is, on an executive protection detail, and anytime you're in a workplace, you really don't want to unmask any views that you're carrying with regards to any of those three topics, with regards to religion, with regards to, kind of any proclivities that you have about race and things like that, or anything that you have to do with your political views, because it really almost is a matter of time until it gets used against you, unless you're like working for a faction that is like pro one or the other. They make you draw a line in the sand. You might be having a conversation in confidence in the chase with another agent that's pro what you are, but at the end of the day, when he tells such and such other dude, or he's in a fight with the other dude about some political stuff and he wants you to jump in and help him, and you guys beat the other dude, or you can't beat him because you're not going to actually change his opinion, but you go to war with him, and then the other dude ends up, like saying something bad about you to a client or HR, or some other stupid thing happens, all because we're talking about these highly charged topics. It is not worth it. It is not worth it. So anything having to do with any of those kind of three topics, I always keep to myself. And kind of the reasons I was saying this is because in our Executive Protection Lifestyle group the other day, someone did mention they brought up a topic that was like overtly racially charged, and I simply took it down and said this won't be a place where racial, political, or religious division is able to really be a part of what we're doing here. So keep in mind, like you might be talking to your client and they may be pro what you're pro today, but they could change their mind in the future. You just never want to open yourself up to that vulnerability, because those topics are so charged that they can be used to divide and really put you in hot water real quick. So just some considerations for when you're in the workplace. Boom. So there you have it. Those are kind of the topics I wanted to touch on today. I think that really the main one I want you to walk away with is, hey, like as you're looking at life and you're looking at what's taking place, and as you're out there working and you're out there training for really catastrophe or anything to happen, and you're really cultivating your mindset, remember, you're in a day-to-day battle to do what you want with who you want, how you want, in a day-to-day battle to be your best, in a day-to-day battle to unlock your full potential. That is the battle you are in, and that's really what you need to focus on, in order to be able to reach your destiny in this life. We live in a theoretical world where we're trying to plan for contingencies, and the better we can focus our minds and the better we can be creative, the better we're going to do. And so go to war with yourself every single day. Dig deep every single day, because remember, you're dying to do everything that you choose to do during your time in this life. Boom. Anyways, hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on Facebook. Go to ByronRodgersMotivation.com, ExecutiveProtectionLifestyle.com. Give to us on Patreon. That's how we support this podcast. It's the primary way. So go on ahead and, you'll hear all about that stuff later. But I will see you guys on the next podcast out. Boom. And to support this podcast, go to ExecutiveProtectionLifestyle.com and contribute to our Patreon account. That Patreon account is what helps me make this podcast possible, contributing to this brand, what we're doing here, making it so that I can bring better guests on, making it so that we can plan more events, and just expand the contribution to the private security industry, and also to making America a safer place by teaching people how to protect themselves and the mindset behind that, the lifestyle behind that. You guys are already killing it. $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever you can do that you would probably just lose in the mattress anyway or spend on McDonald's. Hey, you want to put it towards something that's going to good use, put it towards a podcast, and get involved in our Patreon account at ExecutiveProtectionLifestyle.com. If you want to find me, that's ByronRodgersMotivation.com. Do whatever you can, contribute whatever you can to that Patreon account, because it makes all of these things possible, ladies and gentlemen. So much love. Thank you, and thank you for making those contributions. You guys rock. We're already doing amazing there, and it's just because of you guys. So thanks once again for those contributions. Follow us on social media if you haven't already. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram heavy. The podcast actually has its own Instagram account, Executive Protection Lifestyle. You can find all my handles, Byron_Rodgers. But Executive Protection Lifestyle Instagram is all about real world combat engagements. So that's what kind of videos you'll find there. I've got a YouTube channel that brings everything together. My personal page has a lot more motivation, inspiration, and kind of thoughts and things that I'm thinking on a regular basis. So if you haven't already found me on social media, go find me. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, and LinkedIn. So I'm everywhere. Nonetheless, until next time, y'all, one mind, many weapons, out.